Welcome yet again to another lovely episode. This is my current state of mind. It is I, yours truly, the host, Thando Nkonyana, with yet another current state of mind. This was recorded at the start of this current year, and it had to do with me reflecting on all what 2022 had brought for me and also what it highlighted and the importance of my own psyche. I become stronger the more I face these adversities, and now I've started to look at problems as opportunities. There are no problems but opportunities. When you start to interpret your struggle differently and in an empowering way, your life starts to change for the better. Be your own king, your own captain. Shalom. Affirmations in the morning.
My perfect health is necessary.
We greet the day in the holy name of Shiva. Morning thoughts. Sivogile. Through the Almighty's grace, we are going to choose yet again to entertain the best things about ourselves, to make the journey quite gratifying. I welcome this day with beauty, with exuberance, with a huge amount of optimism, because the future is built in the now. What you do today will always determine what your tomorrow brings, and whether we like it or not, in most cases, we are responsible for the future that we build up. I have been blessed, and and have each and every one of us been with a gift. A gift that each and every one has a responsibility to go out into the world and seek out. Just imagine if we were all the same. I don't think we get to be here today. As I reflect on how tough things have been, I've realized that the most precious commodities or gems go through the most pressure. They say diamonds make pressure. Are you running away from the pressure that is in your life? Or are you being exemplary? Are you facing it head on? Don't forget that you only have a limited time to be on this rock. And while you complaining, someone else is executing. Let this also again be a reminder that do not disacknowledge what you can do in a day. Do not disacknowledge the small bits that you can every day instill in your daily routine so that you can prevail over this mountain. You see, life basically to me is about climbing these mountains, and every opportunity that I do get to climb these mountains, I learn something about myself, the climber, and how capable I am and how I can face any storm and adversity that is placed in front of me. It makes me quite powerful to every day work on the self, because it's a reminder that I am not a complete person, that I always should be open-minded and leave opportunity for more to be discovered about the self. There are many situations that have, I wouldn't say made me the ideal man, but it changed my view set towards everything, especially about how I see life and the impact I'd like to leave. And also, man, how happy will I be with myself after all of that is done and dusted? Because many of us, we fail to remind ourselves of that. How at the end of the day, we are going to have to face ourselves for the decisions we made, even the indecisions. So wake up every day understanding that today is unique. Today brings different conditions. Conditions can never be the same, but how we vibrate also determines whether are we going to be in receiving or are we going to be in giving mode. The challenges are guaranteed, but I've learned to chisel away. I've learned to push through the pain and not identify myself with any emotional stance that I find myself in. We sometimes identify ourselves too much with what's happening currently into our life, and we also fail to give ourselves a moment of applause. Every day you should clap for yourself because you survived things many others didn't. Because I've seen plenty of us how we die inside before we die physically. And to me, it's a reminder that I don't want to place myself in that position. And the only way that can happen is via the daily choices and the decisions that I'm always going to be faced with every day. There's nothing unique about the pathways that we choose. It's more about the choices that we make that lead us up there, who we surround ourselves with, what we think about ourselves most of the time, the information that we expose ourselves to, and also how are we be able to stand up to our demons, because our demons are always going to be there whether we like it or not, and they are bound to catch up with us eventually. So we always have to keep them at bay and understand that there are means in which they can also work for us. We must learn how to deal with this, learn how to control your thoughts, learn what to pay attention to, learn all of that. Because I've never seen any education that I've imposed on myself that has gone to waste. Yes, I haven't executed in some of the plans that I thought I would have, but I am somewhere, because what bugs me a lot is that indecision, and I couldn't be left there. So my early 20s was very hard in that sense that I'm fighting with myself. I haven't learned that the moment I have that inner conflict in within me, then it's going to be seen through my decisions. It's going to be seen through how I move. It's going to be seen through how I speak and all of that. And especially when the very same people who are around me are going to be showing who they really are. And I'm quite glad that happens, because now I don't get opportunity to break out of the shell, this box that all these people have created for myself. And I was like, nah, y'all don't deserve me. I deserve me. When we expose ourselves to danger, we forgot that it is also our responsibility to take ourselves out of that danger. You delegating on how much dangerous things are is only going to make things worse. The only thing that will make things better is for you to address it, make a decision, and act upon it. We also must learn not to let our emotion get the best of us, especially when we are making such huge decisions like improving ourselves, meditating, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, reading books. All of this thing is hard because the majority of society has pushed a different view set on how once you become on this self-improvement journey, you will lose a lot of people. And that's bound to happen. In this life thing, you are not meant to please anybody but yourself. I have paid very careful attention also to the everyday struggle that I face. And I also remind my good brothers whom I have in my lives, who I always remind them about how the best victories are the internal victories. It's you versus you and you prevailing over you. How awesome is that? To me, it's become a norm now of becoming my own hero, of becoming my own nemesis, my own teacher, and also learning as much as possible as I can from other great teachers, young and old. Anything I keep around me, it must activate who I am as well. So that's why we are leading with the emphasis of only quality people. There's only a few good men that are still left out there. And if you can't find them, I think you should be one. I'm speaking to all men out there who are faced with the debacle of seeing all this chaos happening before us and asking themselves, am I going to be part of the problem or am I going to be the solution? We take a lot of hardship, especially from society, when we are not following the norm. Even if it means that we go to a point where we're destroying ourselves, But society has a tendency of rewarding you when you're abiding it by its standards, even if it means you are losing a part of yourself. And before we even sleep, there are a few moments of contemplation, a rewind. What did I do for this day? What did I meet? What are the feelings or emotional stances that I haven't addressed about myself? And solitude is a superpower few men are willing to use to their advantage. This is where I get to see where my mind is at. What am I feeding myself? What is most dominant in my thinking? And as men, the mind estate is very important. What we pour into that fertile soul called the brain is obviously what we will get to harvest. So there must be quality information. There must not be material. So being young, especially this time, and the pressures that we go through, because people are westernized, we are influenced, we're globalized, we are feeding off all these brands. And as much as we are feeding off of them, we are also losing a part of our humanity because we identify ourselves too much with what we own. And that is when we see how materialistic we've become as a society, where it's all about consumption now, and yet there's also a creation culture that has been built out here. So I have been met with many, many challenges, especially with the journey of the podcast, and how now I also have to fight off people who just want to destroy. In my journey of also learning how to fight, I've learned how to defend as well, when it's necessary to put in the killer blow and when it's necessary to object. Sometimes taking the L is being bigger guy. You matter most to yourself. So while you are continuing to tend to this garden, just remember what you put out there is what's going to come back to you. And in often many cases, we love how beautiful things could be, but we also fail to remind ourselves that we are the people who are going to be responsible to make that beauty beautiful to us. No matter how much you can try to convince someone else, but there's a reason why the Almighty shows you your dream. He shows it to you when you're asleep. And to me, it's my responsibility to bring that into manifestation. Don't tell me you haven't had moments where you were shown something and it felt like it's yours, it belongs to you. Because where I currently am, I'm owning myself. I'm owning everything. I also have been learning how to dwell in the person who I'd like to be, feel the place where I'm gonna be, the family, the estate, the influence, most importantly, the positive impact that we are going to imprint and leave in people's lives. We are so hell-bent on leaving a person's life better than we found it. That's why we are putting out this content out here. We are leaving ourselves vulnerable. And as the host, it's also something that I have to put to bed about myself. Man, I come from a place where it was so hard to express yourself. You have to suppress this. The moment you start being all knowledgeable, they tell you you're acting white. This inferiority complex really needs to be addressed, guys. Especially as us young people now, because we need to fight that off, because we still have parents who are still like teaching us from that view set, and it's messing up things for each and everyone. And it surprises me a lot that few of us have decided to take ownership through conversation, through action, and through a whole lot of things that could prevent the next generation from continuing where things are now. Because it's ugly, man. It's really ugly, and it hurts that people can be so hypocritical about things that affect their own future. Like, how can you sleep on addressing that kind of issue? Nah, stop acting white, Thando. What do you mean I'm acting white when I'm trying to fix the very same problem that has always been avoided? When are we going to start becoming solutions to our problems? Because problems are everywhere, but we want to gloat about how we have less problems than the next person, only just to make ourselves feel better. And yet we can have even more power. So it's dedication, it's perseverance, it's courage. I've had to learn how to have courage to say no even when I don't have anything. Throughout this journey as well, I've met people that have shown me how I must be dead steady on the path that I am, how I must be dead sure of who I am, because this world will consume you. It will eat you up like a bubble gum, suck out all your flavor, and then spit you out. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. I had to choose with what I had at that moment. But I still continue. I do not disregard anything that I have at this moment because it got me here. It's going to keep me going. But remind yourself, Thando, that abundance mindset matters with everything, even through the storm. Even when the roller coaster, the great Joshua Kula reminds you, amajigo, when the roller coaster seems like it's going down and it feels like there's no one. And yet the Almighty Shiva is still with you, even through, he's like, go through that darkness. There's a part of you that you will gain when you go through that darkness, so that when you come out, you can bring light. Start to illuminate where you are. Start to illuminate your corner. Use what you have at your advantage and execute. This is the year of Jordan. This is the year that you come with less excuses. In fact, no excuses. We are trying to make sure that we think ahead, months ahead. You cannot even prepare for the inevitable, but you can work on yourself. The patience that 2022 also taught me leading up to this year, this beautiful year of Jordan 23, is also another thing that reminded me of how powerful I am as a being and how powerful my thoughts are and how my thoughts make my reality and what I feed on does matter. Just want to put my PC on so I can get my reading game on. I just want to read an extract from a lovely book that I'm currently reading now. I think I'm on chapter 17. I think so. I think chapter 17, you're badass. But yeah, as the tribulations continue, just a moment, just trying to boot into Linux. Learn Linux, guys, eh? Learn Linux. 2023 is one of those things that we should be hell-bent on learning things that are going to help us. Learn Linux. Tech. Man, this is a very exciting year for myself. Many challenges are going to be on my way, but I'm looking forward to what I'm going to learn. Very much the content we're going to be putting out there, how we're going to be giving people their flowers, them dropping lessons, times, and all those kind of things, man, because we live in such adverse times. So how glad I am that I'm still with myself. I am still content with the self. Most importantly, it's a motivational Monday. Who am I to dispute that? But yes, man, we continue through the concrete jungle. Currently, I am booted into MX Linux. Unfortunately, guys, I'm still using the old version from 2021. But yeah, it's gotten me through a lot of things. In many instances, someone asked me, how come you can be able to use your PC but you don't have Windows? I use Linux. I just put into a live environment, run it off a USB. Chapter 17. It's so easy once you figure out it isn't hard. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Albert Einstein, scientist and awesomist. I was hanging out in my sunny California home one morning, reading the newspaper with the doors flung open and the stereo blasting, when all of a sudden a bird came tearing into my living room. He was flapping around like a maniac, flying into lamps and plants, spreading leaves, feathers, poop, and panic all over the place. In an attempt to escape, he kept slamming himself into the window while I feebly chased him around with the flip-flop, trying to guide him back towards the open door. It was awful to watch. The poor guy was all panting and wild-eyed, his little birdie heart no doubt about to explode with fear when he threw himself over and over again into the glass at full speed. I finally managed to escort him outside the freedom and then spent a very bothered few minutes calming my own little birdie heart while I revisited the scene of the accident. I imagined his confusion and frustration. I can see the sky, it's right there. If I fly hard and fast enough, I know I can reach it. It made me think of the way so many of us live our lives. We can see what we want and nearly kill ourselves trying to get it in a way that's not working. Meanwhile, if we just stopped, got quiet for a minute or two, and then looked at things a little differently, would notice the door to what we want being held open for us by the nice lady in the bathrobe across the room. Then all we'll have to do is fly through it. Oh, the drama we create for ourselves. We are so deeply wrapped in our stories. I don't have the money. I'm not good enough. I just can't quit my job. I'm lazy. I have bad hair. Chundering through life with our heads down, clinging to our false belief like lifeboats full of doo-doo that we prevent ourselves from seeing the literal infinite sea of possibilities and opportunities surrounding us at every single moment. Have you ever walked down a street that you walk down a million times and suddenly notice a house or a tree or a mailbox or something else totally obvious and in your face that you've never noticed before? Or have you ever suddenly become aware of the eye color of someone you've known for years? Or have you ever looked at your mother and thought, I was inside of that woman once? All the stuff didn't suddenly appear and then you noticed it. It was there all along. You just weren't experiencing it because your focus was directed somewhere else. The power of focus, especially when we start to shift it towards things that matter, because in the background there's meditation music playing while I'm reading this book, and I'm reflecting on the importance of working on our focus, because what we focus on is what grows. Whatever in life you are going through, that's not the end result. You should also consider the fact that you have prevailed over a lot of things that you never thought you had capability to, and that's all due to your strength. You are very strong, you are quite capable, and you are able. May you be a beacon of hope to yourself and also to others. Don't forget, you are here for a reason. Namaste. Shalom. Round of applause yet again. We are at your mercy. The day is greeted with the holy name of Shiva. Do not forget where your internal power dwells. This is the thought that runs through this wonderful brain of mine. It has me thinking that you need to always stay guard at the door of your mind. Observe everything, even the things that seem like they are here, put us down, but they have come because they're here to teach us. There's plenty we can learn about ourselves when we pay attention, and today I avail myself yet again to my current state of mind. We keep on climbing this mountain, and we are fully aware that adversity is one thing that we are always going to be faced with at each and every corner, at each and every climb we get to experience. We are being put to the test. The thing that matters most to me is I constantly keep on paying attention. I constantly become aware, for I understand everything that comes is vital. It's a preparation for the next level. So you don't get to this age without you going through all those steps, without you going through all those years. But one of the most powerful things that I've started to realize about myself is when I start to use it as a roadmap to doing better. A roadmap that will remind me, even through tough times, we need to persevere. We need to continue to press on. We need to be quite available for our it. What is your it factor? Either you're avoiding that question or you're running towards it. And having a person such as Lubabalo Chadam Sipa, who I see blossoming into many beacons of hope, exactly what I had seen way before I had seen it. He sees it in me and I see it in him. Learn to see greatness in others, even when they don't see it in themselves. All of us have a gift, and this gift, we have the sole responsibility of going out there and finding out what this gift is. At least try. We haven't tried. When we haven't tried, it shows in how we move. It shows what we are consumed by. It shows in the way we behave. Energy never lies. Real is always going to recognize real. So this is an opportunity for you as the maniac to understand that you need to bring light where there is darkness. And even though I'm still going through the journey of learning to deal with my own darkness, but a fundamental what I'm doing is a reminder that you need to be comfortable with the darkness. The darkness are all those things that you are refusing to listen to about yourself. It's those human limitations that you put on yourself. This is not the world and the standards that it's putting on you. But just remember, we are all impressionable. What I'm currently doing now, I had to see it from other people and try it out for myself. How often have you tried something for you and see if it works? Maybe you might not like it. Maybe you might like it. It will work out. It won't work out. But just try it out. If it doesn't, move on to the next one. So fundamentally, this is my gateway out of my own limitations. When people are only saying they are human, they are only referring to the limitations of a human. The very same limitations that you put on yourself. While you are complaining, someone else is executing. So there's a reason why this is a year of Jordan. It's a year of execution. It's a year of dunking. I think now basketball is going to start to be in my top 5 favorite sports. First, football/soccer. For all you US audiences, you would refer it to soccer. They call it football in the UK. Second on the list would be cricket. Third would be Formula One. The other two I haven't decided. But slowly but surely, the NBA, since it's back, it's been exciting. Very difficult time zones because they're playing while we are asleep. 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. But it just shows how awesome we are. I was just talking about this a few days ago, about if you take away all the black players in the NBA, is there an NBA in the first place? It's so funny how people can profit off black labor, black success, and black people aren't really, as a masses, reaping the rewards of that. These are the very same people that enslaved us, and they are using us now as cash cows. We should be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and not be willing to give out to their standards. They have washed it out of us. They beat it out of us. We still have a long way to go as a continent, as a people, but I always start with the individual. It always starts with the individual. What is the individual doing? What is the individual thinking about himself? Because you can't help others if you can't help yourself first. It's the same with the Almighty. The Creator can't help you if you're not helping yourself. If you're not being steady and being there and putting those episodes and putting those talks and going live and putting those videos, ain't nobody going to be able to see them. So let's stop talking about it and start being about it. People don't care, man. That's what I've seen. You start to ignite other people's demons the moment you start working on yourself. Trust me, things will be against you. This is pure evidence. The same people that I grew up with, I'm not good with them because I decided to put myself first. And that's what's going to happen to you throughout this journey. You are going to be by yourself. But the most important thing is You have made decisions that are going to put you in a place where you can look at your life with longevity, not with regret. If I could count the amount of regret I hear on a daily basis, I could be the richest man in the world just on regret. But that doesn't feed. It just sustains. It just continues you into that road of misery. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. It always has, it always will. So when you are not that master of your own mind, then obviously the mind is going to be your master. You're going to take instructions from it and not the other way around. It's so expensive to be ignorant now. In the age of information, it's very pricey as well as expensive to be very ignorant. In fact, it's a choice many men and women have decided. I'd rather remain ignorant than being empowered. You have to deal with all of these things. Do you understand how hard it is to constantly question the very same things that sustain you? Because the very same thing you might have learned the previous year might be the thing that you need to tumble and tear down so that new beliefs can continue. I do not grow if I keep on believing the same goddamn thing. I can't be nihilistic, man. And that's a choice on its own. So when you fundamentally look at yourself, you're supposed to see yourself as a project, a sculpture that you are continually working on that's going to yield you huge amounts of value in the future. I was telling Blurred yesterday about, yo, G, you got like 70 videos, bruh. God damn. And you ain't stopping. That's a catalog. And it was like, that's here, I'm doing that for me. It's the same thing with this. It's not about what I want to be remembered for. God damn, I'll be going to the grave empty because I poured out all my potential in the time that I have in living. And as young as we are sometimes, we think we are guaranteed that we are going to see tomorrow. No, you're not. No, you're not. We all have the same equal amount of time to see what will happen the next day. You can plan all you can, even for today, but what tomorrow brings, that is not guaranteed to nobody. That's why I always like to walk with the emphasis that the day is the day that the Lord made, not a human being. Not a human being. We are only extensions of this greatness, this mercy that comes from the Lord. But when we get consumed by worldly things, things that are short term, things that were thought out of destruction, out of mayhem, out of chaos, then obviously you are going to see this chaotic culture that's been created out there. You're going to see this irresponsibility that you are exposed to every day. And if you're not critical of it, it means you don't care. What are you doing to remedy how things are? But it starts with the self. It had to start with me. I had to question who I thought I was. I wasn't as good as I thought I was. I needed to work. I'm so glad that all of those things got to be taken from me, because now I know the value of those things. You are going to be teared apart. You are going to be betrayed. You are going to be lied to. But the one thing you must not do is do not give up on yourself. They might give up on you, but you can't give up on you. I've never even tried to consider that. In many cases, I've been near that door where you're walking the plank. And it reminds me of this quote. There's a difference between walking the path and knowing the path. In many instances in your life, you are taking instructions from people who've never walked the path that they are advising you about. How can I be taking advice from a person who's never walked through it, who's never been through it, who's never been exposed to it? Just shows how narcissistic we can be. True reminder of what my father is. Narcissists thrive on people depending on them. They want you to depend on them and no one else. That's why you're this weak. You are depending on the outside that you have no 100% control over, instead of learning to deal with the inside. The power of the Almighty exists in within each and every one of us, but the enemy will always tell you it's on the outside. That's why you will never be fulfilled. You are being sold a dream, a place that you will never ever see. They are marketing heaven as if it's in the sky, and yet you've been there a couple of times. I know heaven is a mind state. I've been there a couple of times. That's Jesus, also known as J. Cole. They can't hide that away from us. One thing about the men that write history, they would erase their sins. I'm quoting Jesus again. Who's this Jesus he's talking about? I'm talking about J. Cole. But how often do you put yourself in that position? These are our messiahs, but they can only do as much. It's through their gift. They are working us through music. What are you working your people with? Are we going to continue being victims of our own stories or victors? Look at all the notes that are on all the currencies in the world. Not Africa, the world. And that is all stolen legacy. That is all stolen wealth. How can you be proud of inheriting a wealth that was stolen? They stole your wealth, Africans. That's why you are still beggars to them. And these are people you still hold in high regard. The enemy doesn't look like you. They make you think that the enemy looks like you. They came here and stole gold. They stole silver, iron ore. What haven't they stole? They stole your history. They stole your spirituality. They stole all of these things. And then after that, they decided to tell you who they think you are. And you believe them. That's the most hurting part about us as a people. We believe what we are told by a person who doesn't look like us. And no wonder we're going to continue to suffer. You need to break away from these chains, these mental chains that you are still being held by. Now we are living in different times. This is the fourth industrial revolution. People are coding. People are transacting in Bitcoin. People are building smart contracts now on the Ethereum network. People are building smart apps. People are on the metaverse now. In the next 10 years, money paper is not even going to exist. Where is Africa going to be? We are going to be left behind because we are so hell-bent on being participants of the European system that will continue to enslave us. We use their monetary system. We use their health system. We use their agricultural system. We use their economic system. What of theirs don't we use? So it means our leaders are just continuation. They are just wardeners in this prison called Africa that is still owned by the European colonizers. The moment you speak in such a way, you speak with radicality. Need I remind you what happened in the 70s? Just shows how ignorant we can be as young as we are. Go read your history. Not the one that was told by the white person that's showing you all this pain. No, tell me about all that self-sustenance. About how Bantu Biko was saying, stop giving us your funding. Stop giving us the poison chalice. Let us sustain ourselves. We built clinics, gardens, schools, trying to push our literacy. And we never see power in that. We are 43 million people in South Africa, black people to be specific. 43 million, and 77,000 of those people are Jews and they own everything. Stop kidding yourself and say you own your country. You are a beggar in your own country. You own nothing. What do you own? Nothing. Because you are hell-bent on being what? An oppressed. You're hell-bent on continuing being a slave. A mental slave. A slave to their products. A slave to their everything. But when are Africans going to counterattack this? When are we going to start looking ourselves in the mirror and be like, I need to look out for me? And it starts with this. It starts with us building what is ours, our platforms, where we can talk our struggles, our mayhems. and not constantly try to beg these people to put us on, because you know all the people that are on top are selected. It's the ones that are behaving who are not going to bring us any form of chaos. Obviously, when you get there, you're going to start to question things. So how about I hell-bent myself on building a parallel system to the European one that is going to sustain and look out for the African, because clearly the African is still a prostitute to the European system. Look at our children and how they are studying so that they can apply for visas to go to the very same European countries, the very same American countries that enslaved them for years and stole their wealth. Is that what our kids are going to be inspiring to in Africa? To get an American passport, to get a British passport? We are losing intellectuals, young people that can be active in building another system. When I'm sitting with a brother who's even younger than me, that is thinking about what he's going to do when he retires, when he's thinking about cities that he wants to build. And you have comfortable people who are sitting in power because they are slaves as well. They are just going to continue to maintain the very system that will oppress them. Ain't nothing different from a wardener. Can't even consider the question of looking out in the mirror when we can't even face the things that matter most. How we are distracting one another, how we're killing one another, how we are tearing one another, and we have created this crab mentality. No one goes to the top. When that immediate person wants to get there, we immediately want to take them away. There's even a book that still exists, How to Make a Slave, written by white people. Still exists till this day. Now it's different forms of slavery. Guys, do you know what algorithms are doing now? I'm going to suggest this documentary again. Go to your Netflix app. You go to the search section. You search The Social Dilemma. SOCIAL-DILLEMA. Social Dilemma. You watch that documentary and tell me if you are going to see social media the same way after watching that. We must be aware of what these tools that we've created are doing to us. The amount of destruction, as also the amount of help it can also offer. But now these things, remember, when they get born, they get to be maintained. And then over a period of time, they start having a mind of its own. It continuously gets fed. These very same tools can be used against us. We saw it in the US election when Trump got elected. But when are we going to wake up to that? That these tools can be used to literally change who can be the president of the free world, as we normally say, since we westernized. Who would have said Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States of America? Not me. But go back to the roast in 2011. And when he said he's going to be president of the United States of America, this is 2011, roast of Donald Trump on Comedy Central. Go check it out for yourself. He was still dating Melania, who now is his wife. Go do your research, man. We are lazy to read. We are lazy to go and look for these things. That's why it's easy for us to be influenced. We do not even give ourselves the ability to digest the information. I'm still digesting all the information I took from 2022. Hard as hell. It's just lessons on top of lessons on top of lessons on top of lessons. And you gotta take them as they come. Like, I see a mental pandemic here that's going on. And people continue to lose themselves in the sight of things that they can be able to look in their face and face them. What is purely wrong at the root of the African now is where they really got us. The root is family. The root is family. What keeps these people together? It's family. The most dangerous thing in the 21st century is a black successful family. You need to watch those things. That's why they need to cut it when it's still young. They need to bend it when it's still young, so that it cannot be able to grow and have any other idea to say that I can be able to continue from where I left off. There's a reason why the black child must be born with nothing. There's a reason why he must be born with less. He must be deprived of all these basic. It's a system, guys, and we are so hell-bent this year on creating this series about how and why the ghettos were created in the first place. Remember, you were forcibly moved where you are now. This township was created in 1958. Where were we living before that? Apartheid started 1948. The National Party won the national election in 1948. It's sad, man. And look where we are. The decisions that were made in the 1940s still affect us in the 2020s. Am I the only one who's tripping over this? It matters, guys. Your history matters. Only the person who doesn't want you to know yourself that will tell you what you're telling me doesn't matter. You're telling me knowing yourself doesn't matter. While the Jews are being raised with economic culture, where at the dinner tables they're discussing economics. What are they discussing at the black man's table? Does the black man even have a table? All he's trying to do is force himself into other people's tables. Why are we trying to fit in where we will never fit in? Black people have always been made to stand out. This conforming culture, it's never been us. They've been copying us. We are not the people that are here to copy. They are them. It's all of them. Why did they have to steal your resources, your history, if you were not that great? Why did they have to enslave you if you were not that great? It still baffles me till this day. And they say they brought the book that had the truth, which they call the Bible. The very same people that enslave us now want to give us information that will empower us. The very same information they use to continue to put us in bondage. They read you a Bible verse before they whipped you in slavery, saying this was ordained by God. The Roman Catholic Church benefited years and years of the bondage of black people. And the moment you see a shooting, a white man shooting a black person, now we must forgive. We must forgive. Come on, man. Come on, guys, man. Nah. Are we really gonna accept that chaos and mayhem is part of the black culture? It's never been. We've always been aligned with nature, but they took us away from the root. They took us off our center. So now we don't even know who we are. We don't even know who the enemy is. The enemy is also someone that looks like us now. You don't need to even go far now. You want to know why things are not going good in your life? Don't look far. Look at the people that are in your life. They know everything about you. They know what you like to eat, what you like to drink, who you chill with, what conversation you like to have, your favorite team, your favorite... They know every goddamn thing about you. So when something goes wrong in your life, don't look far. Look in within that circle. There's a Judas amongst those people. And you're telling me that doesn't exist? It does. Whose responsibility is it supposed to protect your peace? Whose peace is it in the first place? Oh, I love that thing. When they say you are full of yourself, who are you supposed to be full of? Yeah? Yeah, uyazitshela. Kumele ngitshele bani? Who am I supposed to be full of? It baffles me that a black person is not in line. I can't even formulate it in words. It disgusts me how we godify other people and yet we the God. We are the God. The very first, the life came out of a black womb. Melanin, darkness. Everything has to be formed in the dark. charcoal. Why can you be able to walk in the sun? Look at our Nigerian, our Cameroon brothers. Dark melanin! But you have never been taught about the power of melanin and how it's the formation of everything. How everything is formed from black. Go read Malcolm X's literature. Go read Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, Steve Bantu Biko, Mangaliso Sobukwe. Go read all these men's literature and telling me, come back and tell me if they are not pointing you back to you, the black man. Aren't these men not going to remind you of how great you've been? The great things you have done. We need to work with the mind. We need to colonize each and every black person's mind with the same mentality that the black consciousness movement brought about in our people. We are not saying in its entirety, but there are also fragments that we have to consider. You see, when we learn our history, we are erasing the mystery. You are going back to all these revolutionaries and you're taking things that you can be able to apply in the 21st century, in the fourth industrial revolution, to counterattack the very same oppression that is thrown back at you. The person who slaved you will not empower you, because the moment you are empowered, you will overthrow him. You won't need him. The moment black people start creating their own industries, they stop buying from ShopRite. They stop buying from Woolworths. The moment you start growing our foods, we open our own banks. We make our own clothing, our own medicine, our own schooling systems. Who gets poor? It's them. Who has all these things in abundance? They need to keep us on that rat race. Because if we are not working, they don't making the profits. They're not making the money. Black man needs to stop seeing himself as labor. You need to see yourself as asset. Reclaim what belongs to you. But first of all, it starts you reclaiming yourself mentally. Where are we mentally as a people? What government are you instilling in you first? Before we can consider any other governments, are you moving by example? Can we consider you someone that we can look to lead us? Because leaders are the ones who decide to lead. They are not chosen, they are not made, but they lead. And they lead by the forefront, they lead by action. Are you a leader in your own government? That is the government in you. What government have you instilled? Because every day you are bargaining. Every day you are negotiating with yourself. Am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? Am I going to distract myself? Am I going to help myself? Every single day, there are these two dogs. One fights when necessary. The other fights all the time. Which one of these dogs are you feeding every day? Because the one you feed the most is going to be the most dominant one. That is why wherever we go, we feed that dog that fights all the time. We regard everything as danger. We regard everything as a threat. So everywhere we go, we are just creating chaos. But the other one is more the controlled one. It knows when it needs to protect itself. It knows when it needs to fight, when it needs to object. I'm gonna quote a hip-hop artist from South Africa. This guy is gonna be the next great thing. He's called Lucas Raps. He said in one song that I listened to, sometimes taking the L is being the bigger guy. You must learn to take L's. That is why I like to feed this dog that fights when necessary. I'm not saying I don't feed the other one that fights all the time. I do. But just remember, which one do I feed the most? What matters is 51% of the thinking of a man. 51 is greater than 49. Don't take it far. 51 to 49. Which side are you on? So that is the dominant factor that you are always going to be faced with. That is the mental game that you are always going to be playing with yourself. You are always bargaining with yourself. You are always negotiating with yourself. Whatever you do, it's either making things better or it's making things worse, or it's putting you in the same place as you were in the first time. And remember, no action is also action as well. It's the same thing. Taking a no risk is a risk itself. So you might as well take the risk. It might not work out, but you might as well take that. I might as well release 66 episodes this year. I might as well. You see, I'm not driven by, oh, will these people listen to what I have to say? Make it available. That's the best you can do. Control. Learn to focus on what you can control, sorry. Focus on what you can control, and that's putting the content there. So if the podcast is on 4 platforms, that is all I can do. Wednesday, 12 p.m., that's all I can do. Avail it to the necessary platforms, because if I don't record and edit, publish, and then add on, and then being able to upload it onto all these necessary platforms, then it's not available. I don't have something that is going to be pushing me away. And remember, I am not money driven. I am value driven. Value matters most to me, because once I get the value, the money comes. Everything is going to be able to follow value, because where you provide value, money will come. But I'm just thinking about in the next 10 years, just putting your head down and continuing, because you are so hell-bent on being told you are good. You don't need to tell me that I'm good. I know I'm good. In fact, I'm the best at what I'm doing. You don't need to convince me otherwise. That outside affirmation, keep it to yourself. Keep that to yourself. I do not need it. I already have myself. That's how powerful we must become as human beings. That's how powerful we must expect the universe to confide to our nature, to our favor. When I leave, I expect to get certain things to happen to me. I expect to meet certain people. I expect all these things. I will not just say, I will see when I get there. No, the universe works also from a mental capacity. What you put out there comes back. So if I am working from a low vibrant, then what is going to happen? I am going to attract low vibrant. The law of attraction also works in a low vibrancy as well as high as well. We must not just accredit it to getting the things that are going to be wonderful for us. No. I've seen it with myself. When I start dipping my energy level, what happens? All of these people start coming. They haven't seen you. But that is what I've started to see this universe as an energy realm. We are all vibrating at a certain frequency. So if I am aware of my own frequency, I can be able to detect, hey, Samba Lola. Confidence says, I do not care if they don't like me, as long as I like myself. I do not care whether you like me or not, as long as I like myself. We are working too much on being liked. And it works on what I heard Bill Cosby once said, I do not know the formula to success, but I know the formula to failure, and that's trying to please everyone. We all find ourselves in that stature. But when you are making major decisions, especially about your life now, you know now what is at stake, Thando. You know the price that you have to pay. Being an avid hip-hop lover, you gotta pay the cost to be the boss. It's there, bro. Success leaves trails. So we cannot try to be on stage and create our own rules there and act as if, we are bringing something unique. No. The Parks and the Snoop Dogs have been showing us for years how to do this. Learn from them. Do right where they did wrong. Learn from your misery. Don't just learn from when things are good. We are so hell-bent on always trying to celebrate. What are you celebrating? Yeah? What are you celebrating? Did you buy an asset? No. Then what are you celebrating? Stop celebrating liabilities. Assets over liabilities. We must go broke buying assets, not having liabilities. Assets over liabilities. Just trying to go broke buying assets, trying to do what my parents never did.
I did.
and we always gonna try.
Okay.
It's perseverance.
Yes.
It's looking at our vocabulary. It's observing it. It also understand that you have to remove before you can be able to add. Being a tech enthusiast myself, I always like to get to the source code of everything. Ish. I'm gonna be a very good programmer. Very good one, because hey, I love this, man. All of this starts to excite me because I'm active in trying to make it better. It's refinery. It's like gold. When it goes through those high temperatures, it has to be molded and formed so that it becomes those gold bars at the end of the day that cost huge amounts of money. So I only see it as a way to get us to that phase where we become solidified. I think sometimes we forget those states in science, where there's that state of gas, state of liquid, and also solid, when things are solid. So the challenges that I see now are I'm like that gold that is being put through those high temperatures now, so that I can be able to create those blocks, those solids that are going to be of huge value, so that other people can be able to obtain them. So basically, the experiences that are going through are only molding me so that I can become that gold that is going to be of value. That gold that people would want to admire, people that would want to possess, want to be around. It's been through what most people have never been through. So when you look at yourself as this project, as this painting that you constantly need to work on, you understand that you are forming yourself as you go along. With every stroke, there is something that you are discovering about the self. You are lovely. You are capable. You come from a very insightful background. And this background that you come from is the very same one that you are going to be able to turn into your favor. The only wish that I currently have is for me to turn the family fortunes into something good. It's all about preservation. When we are poisoning the roots while they are still young, then they will not be able to bear fruit. They are just going to be trees that grow, produce no value, nothing. Because already those roots had been poisoned from its beginner foundation. So we must be careful for what we expose kids to, what knowledge and what we tell them about who they are. Because we could be telling them things that will impact them their whole life. And the mental capacity and also the psychology of the black child is one that we are all supposed to be as a collective, as our ancient ancestors used to. It takes a village to raise a child, which means everyone in the community is active. Everyone in the community is that child's mother and father, that child's teacher, and all of that. So everyone that you see on the street is your mother and your father, and you are their child. Those are one of those foundations as African people that we saw in that collectivism that we moved through. We provided for one another. We looked out for one another. We cured one another. We celebrated with one another. And that's always been the African way. The African has never been a person who likes to exclude others. I was just talking about that other day, that it's the white man that introduced greed to the black man. Take a moment for you to sink that in. The black man is not inherently greedy. He was taught greed. So he had to be emptied of who he was. They had to empty that collectivism. They had to empty that Ubuntu, that Ntu, that connects us all as Africans. And these Western standards instilled in him. And what comes out of that? We send our children to white school and they come back as Romans and we are surprised. And yet we paid for this. You are paying for your kids to be Romans. And when they come back at the house and they do not know who they are and you blame them, how can it be their fault when you have the very same person who sent them to these schools? We know when they get sent to the school what they come back as. Obviously, they're going to be a product of the system because you do not control what that education system does to that child. It conforms and it purges you of your African custom, your Africanity, and it demands of you to adopt its ways. Western standards for you to be able to survive. And instead of taking us near to our salvation, it takes us even further. Just on a closing note, the kingdom lies in within. The Almighty that you keep on looking from the outside, you already possess that person. You are creating all this misery for yourself. And the moment us as a people, the melanin, the African child, the moment we start tending to ourselves and we stop depending on other people and we start depending on ourselves, even if it means that we have to figure it out, but let's not keep avoiding that issue, that we have ourselves to blame why we are here in the same place. We are the very same upholders because we don't even hold our own leaders to account. Yet we love them, we execute them, we exempt them from all these kind of things. And since we do that, instead of helping ourselves, we damage ourselves. It's going to continue to be the destructions of our people. We are our own enemy. That is what I've started to pick up now. When you are your own enemy, nobody can save you. Instead, they will help you to continue to destroy yourself. So let's put a lot of things to bed, because we know if you don't, trust me, further generations are going to be further entrenched. It's going to be even worse for them than it already is for ourselves. And that is what continues to happen. The keys to your freedom, only you possess them. Why are you looking for a key that you possess? The key is never going to be on the outside. Instead, that thing will always keep you in a sense of thinking you have it, thinking you have it, thinking you have it, but you are not even having it at all. Look at all how our people now are isolated. Talking about the ones that have money now, because there's too many poor people, while there's a masses of them who are living in comfortability. Don't even need to look so far, because they will show you that there is a selected few of us who are deserving of this and you are not. And when they show you, you must see it. Many times they've told me I don't belong. I was like, yes, I know I don't belong. I belong with myself. I'm not going to compromise myself in the sake of pleasing. Tell me of a man who got to the top by pleasing everyone, and I will wait for that answer. But until then, give yourself time to observe what you're going through, because you are here for a reason. And if you don't find that reason, then that's also your fault. I am going to be a person who's going to make impact in the now as well as in the future, because I'm tending to my garden. Tend to your own garden, fellow Africans. Start to choose the corner that you live at now and tell yourself that I am going to choose to dominate this corner that I've selected. I'm going to dominate this place that I found myself in. Aim to be the best in everything you do, man. Not second place. Number one. All the time. Even if you don't get there, but at least in your mind, you are always pushing yourself to be first. Our time has always been now, but execution is the important thing. My fellow African brothers, as the maniac, I am signing out. I hope Shiva continues to shine light and prosperity upon every one of you. I hope that he dwells into your spirits and tenders to the best of you. You are quite capable of getting what you want. You are quite capable, but you need to ask yourself the hard questions as well. And when you ask the hard questions, you're going to get hard answers. And those answers are not going to be nice to digest, but they are going to be necessary. They are going to be destroying a part of you that needs to be destroyed so that the new you can be able to be born. Take nothing from what the fire will do to you. That is its responsibility. It is there to scorch and mold you into that true being that you are supposed to be. I salute. Shalom. Thank you yet again for tuning in for this lovely episode. Until next time.